Evening, my name is Mallette. Got a short thing I'd like to read to the board. I speak to you tonight as a citizen who is very concerned that all our governments no longer want our input, nor do they follow the laws such as open meetings. They all realize that there will be no investigation by the state of New York. Recently, the town of Cicero started their workshop, which apparently was approved by Mr. Freeman, Executive Director of the Ethics of the Open Government Committee, State of New York. Mr. Freeman is the authority on the open meetings law in the State of New York. I was concerned that when this was done, on the unapproved minutes of the town board meeting, I checked with our supervisor and asked that they had contacted Mr. Freeman regarding these meetings. This is not just administration, but it has been a problem for some time. I would like to read the response from our supervisor. There are other towns that also hold workshops. I agree all the meetings, yes, we do check with Mr. Freeman, and the workshops are legal because there are no decisions made. It's strictly discussion and open to the public. It's not necessary to take minutes. I checked with Mr. Freeman, and his response is as follows. An email from Mr. Freeman. I do not believe that any communications involving the town's workshops was made in writing. Rather, my telephone log indicates an issue regarding minutes are discussed with the town clerk. In brief, I was advised that the open meetings law contains a minimum requirements concerning the contents of the meeting. At a minimum, it must be consent of a record, a summary of motions, purposes, etc. If none of these events occur, the meetings are held for discussion. There is no obligation to prepare minutes. I received a response from the supervisor. I asked her about Mr. Freeman. I got a response from the supervisor saying, oh God, we are good. That is correct. It is advertised, open for meetings purposes to the public. No vote is taken. Recently had an audit performed by the state's controller. At the last meeting, the town board approved an expenditure of $8,500 for a membership independent audit of the Justice Department without any comment from any board member or such discussion. As a citizen and taxpayer, I would like to know why you just approved this expenditure. I am concerned the government is at all levels has forgotten their purpose. Our constituents input, okay? Anybody want to tell me why we spent $8,500?
I'm liaison to the Justice Department, Mr. Mallette, so I'll answer the question for you. Your question is twofold. In regard, you know my feelings on the pre-agenda workshop, so we'll defer to that.
Yeah.
The second thing is on the audit. We had an executive session to discuss the reasons why that was necessary. And those at the executive session, the reasons why obviously are something that the board members need to know. There's going to be a change it's no reflection on any of the office itself. There's going to be a change in that office at the end of the year, and that'd be the prudent thing to do as recommended by the New York State Unified Court System.
One question is this. It seems though the decision was made before you hit the floor. There was no discussion, no comments from any board members. It was yes, 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 yes. This indicates to me that this was set up before the board had a meeting.
Well, I can tell you this, I didn't, before we went into executive session to discuss that particular matter, I wasn't even aware that we were going to bring it up. So it was all at the executive session when we came out. I mean, typically if we make decisions on things that are discussed during executive session, it is voted on right then.
Thank you. I recently sent an email to Mr. Freeman. I got no response from it yet. Let's read this email to the board, then I'll quit. Oh, boy. Good morning, Mr. Freeman. This was sent to him a week ago. I'm concerned the open meeting law and freedom of information laws are being used to defend the government and not the people. I'm concerned over the fact that government now represents the government and not people. I'm hard of hearing, so attending meetings is a waste of time. I still am interested in how the government operates by reading the agendas and meeting minutes. As a former supervisor, I worry that our governments at all levels have forgotten the people. I bet you and your invite you and your staff to go to the town of Cicero minutes, read the minutes, and then get yourself is how government should operate. Thank you.
Good evening, Tom Beaulieu, 6121 Palm Summit Drainage Detention Area Circle. Before I address that, I have a couple of other issues. First, I'd like to compliment the Highway Department and the Highway Superintendent for the nice work they've done over there on Lake Shore. They had that large culvert they had to replace. They got it done in a very quick and efficient way. We talked a little bit about some box beam or W beam, whatever we've got decided. Over that box beam is probably heavy duty enough. You're going to need that over there. And also the fact that you fixed, I think it was Maplehurst and Bayview, without going in and redoing the entire road. Both those entrance ways are really falling apart, and just going in there and sticking them up, I hope they'll last maybe 4 or 5 years. Good. I agree with a lot of things you said regarding the tentative budget. Having attended most of these over the last 8 years, even if I'm the only one in the room looking it over at that time, I have the luxury that a lot of people are working, and you stated. It's a public document, as our town attorney emphasized. That should go on the website. If they don't understand it, they call the supervisor's office and ask questions. and I know we don't all understand. There's a lot to it. I know Shirley understands it. So. Also, Don brought up some very good points, having served with him, and I see certainly Deborah going back there too. We know there's a wall out there in the future regarding health care and pension costs. If it's 5 years out, it depends on how bad the economy is in the next few years, how quick that wall's going to approach. I do believe the study gave the necessary information that, and I know some of the councilors are certainly would like to see this put to referendum. I would hope the entire board goes and follows through with that. It should be a decision made based on what the residents want. I hope they're well informed when they make the decision. There's a lot of parts to that, and if we do it in a timely fashion, it's not going on in November. If we do it well and do it right, we should be satisfied with the result, and I hope that's how it works out. Getting to some of the drainage questions that were raised tonight, for the amount of people that have shown up over at the detention area, I would have thought I'd ask to build a mosque there, but I haven't. But basically, want the wheel ruts taken care of. I think the letter I gave to you with the copy of my survey, which I'm not required to furnish, 35 foot off the gutter line, that is my property. The town did not get a release. The town has not restored the property, and I'm requested it be done, and I'm pleased to see it will be done. Further comments on the drainage projects, having foiled some of the estimates that were provided by the CNS engineers. I know it's not exact science when you're not actually working up full numbers on these because we've done it for quite a few years in construction work that I did. But I find it troubling that we would more than double what it cost, what it should have initially cost in the past years. And I think I understand why. Instead of spending $15,000, we spent $32,000 of the taxpayers' money in this town to fix something that should have been done right the first time. That project's less than 10 years old. The developer had a responsibility to make sure it was put in correctly. The town engineers at the time signed off on that project, and the water wasn't flowing the way it should have. It was technically flowing towards the back of their homes, which was causing their sump pumps to be on all the time. Now, we probably could have gotten away with having that work done for $15,000 that we were going to eat. But we spent $32,000 because we had to put under drain pipe in, wrap it. We put that chia grass in instead of putting grass seed and topsoil like everyone else gets. And all that costs extra. There's $15,000. We're talking for a swale. We're not doing a drainage easement. We're not putting a road entry in. It's a swale, backyard. A lot of people here know that. They have to cut theirs, mow them, cut down the trees, weeds, and everything else that grows. So for the 10 or 12 homes that went there, and I understand their problem, they got $3,200 worth of funds from the people in this town per household to have that swale redone. And I'm glad the engineer also brought up the fact that they found that French drain taking photographs down there, Josh Landing. And I guess the question is, if the French drain was buried, why didn't O'Brien Gear see that last fall, and why did we have to go in there and dig it out? It should have been exposed, that should have been functioning. Somebody signed off as a professional engineer. It's acceptable. That project, as you all know, has got 3 phases to it. The first 2, we released the funds last December. And now we're back in there spending additional money, less than a year after the funds were released, taxpayers' money, foolishly, because we're not holding these engineers accountable for their work and their inspection. But I would hope the town would consider going after O'Brien here at this point if necessary, and recovering that money, because they didn't do their job. And I would hope that CNS will not make the same mistake we've seen in the past, that we will continue to do what we should do. Thank you.
Tony, is it feasible to implement what Tom has suggested, on these? He has mentioned it to me before, but I didn't think it was feasible to go back and try to get work redone by the engineering company.
Well, I think what you run into is the developer will say the engineers approved it. And so, why should I go back now and do what they've already told me was okay before? I mean,
I know.
It's a practical
how practically can we do it? I understand this point because we keep running into, the same kind of situation every time we go out and look at one of these.
It's something to look into, and maybe get some of the previous parties together to say, how are we going to resolve this? I mean, Jim knows as a lawyer, those things are very difficult to, once you've got to sign off and an approval by somebody, the person who's getting the approval says, I've done all I need to do. Otherwise, you shouldn't give me a sign off. So it's not my fault, it's his fault. And it's, one of these finger pointing things.
And all the money's been paid.
The money's been paid, and security's released. Yeah. It's difficult.
But it's a point well taken.
Mr. Willis?